Okay, I'm going to get the tools unloaded out of the van and I'm just going to jump in and get cracking. The first thing on the list is going to be clearing this patio. I'm going to use the strimmer because it's nice and quick, or weed whacker or whippersnipper or whatever you choose to call it. This is not the best method of weeding a patio, but it is one of the fastest. And I've also found a few repeated treatments will actually kill a lot of the weeds and stop them from coming back. Another method would be to use a weed killer, pouring toxic chemicals all over your patio. And you can probably hear in my voice how I feel about that one. So I never use weed killers, but it's completely up to you. And you would also have to wait for the weeds to actually die back. One of the most thorough methods would be to use a patio knife, which is a small metal implement with a hook on the end. You can scrape out all of the roots, all of the seeds, and then repoint the gaps afterwards with sand and cement. And this is going to be one of the better methods for keeping it clear all year round. With one major drawback, this would take absolutely ages to do. If you know any other ways to keep the patios clear of weeds and grasses and everything else, please let me know in the comments. It would be great to find out how you do it. But for now, I'm going to stick with the strimmer, if for no other reason that it's just going to be quicker to do, and I'm also going to learn quite a bit about this garden. And also the gentleman will get a nice surprise when he wakes up. So I'm going to crack on and get this patio cleared, and I'll speak to you guys more when I finish this bit. Okay, just to let you guys know, I was fortunate enough to meet Frank, the guy who actually lives here. He didn't want to be on camera, but I did have a good conversation with him. He's actually 94 years old. Get that? 94. I am in my mid-40s, and the year I was born was the year he retired from his full-time career in the Royal Air Force. That is amazing. I mean, wow. And to top that all off, beyond a horrible cold he's got, he was actually looking really well, really fit and healthy, and he was a total gentleman. Right, I've finished trimming the patio now. I'm going to use the leaf blower to get rid of all the bits off of this patio. I always feel a bit of a cowboy and a little bit cavalier when I use this method, but sometimes as a gardener you've just got to choose between the quickest and the best way of doing something, and they're very rarely the same thing. Well, it's cowboy time again. I'm going to use the strimmer to put an edge between this grass and the patio. Again, not my preferred method. I would much prefer to use an edging iron, which is one of these. You get a far better edge, especially where patio meets grass. Although saying that, there are some people who are absolutely surgical when it comes to using a strimmer to do this, but I'm not one of those. Time to get the lawnmower out of the van. It's going to be the first time this year I've actually used it. Fingers crossed it starts okay. Now it's time to give this lawn the first cut of the year. If you are doing your first lawn mow this year, make sure you cut it nice and high and just take the tips off. The temperatures are still a little bit cool here, so the grass won't be in full grow mode at the moment, so just take it steady. Although anyone with a keen eye will probably see that this lawn is actually more moss than it is grass, but that's a problem for another day. Right, so that's the easy bit done. It's now time to get some hand tools out of the van and crack on with some manual gardening. First things first, get into these borders and see what I'm up against. I can already see lots of grass growing where it shouldn't be, so I'm going to start by trying to remove as much of that as I can. This lavender needs a little bit of attention. Absolutely beautiful plants, so I'm going to start by just giving this a prune, and like I say, trying to pull out as much of this grass that's growing in the centre of it as possible. There's also a really small heather growing on the edge here, that also needs a little prune back. They do tend to get a little bit leggy and a little bit woody if you don't prune them. So, on pruning lavenders, conventional wisdom says that you shouldn't cut into the woody stems of the plant. I have always cut the woody stems of plants and only ever been rewarded by vigorous growth and lots of flowers, so please let me know what you think. But I've always found plants like lavender and heathers naturally get woody very quickly, and if you don't cut into the woody growth on the plant, you'd never actually be able to prune it at all. So I'm now going to get stuck into this border. Now I know where it is. The biggest problems here, by the looks of it, are going to be grass and my old nemesis, brambles. You may have already noticed lots of primrose or primula growing around this garden. They do tend to seed themselves all over everywhere, especially around the base of the parent plant. but never one to miss an opportunity for a free plant, I found one growing in the lawn. Now it doesn't look very healthy, that's because I've walked on it a few times, but it will do just fine. This little root here is one of many brambles that have popped up in this garden. Still, it's far better to get them when they're this big than when they get any bigger and really spiky. look at this dandelion growing here, and before you think I'm some kind of master gardener, there was virtually no resistance at all to pulling this root out of the ground. I'm assuming it was growing in a void under this garage or something like that. So it's starting to rain quite a bit now. It's making it quite difficult to dig out this grass from the borders, so I'm not going to be here for that much longer. I have found another plant though here. It's a heuchera with the purple leaves. I'm going to have a look at that next time I come and get this garden finished off. Yeah, that looks fine, still growing. So it's raining nicely now. I'm starting to get a little bit wet, so I'm coming to the end of my time here today in this garden. I will be doing another free session here for Frank and try and get this garden all finished off and ready for the year ahead. But for now, that is it. I am getting wet. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.